So to show how a discussion board can be graded, I popped open one of the discussion boards from the Canvas class I taught over the summer. It's already got stuff filled out, so we can use that in order to see how everything on the teacher side is going to look when everything's all said and done. You'll notice toward the top, there's a few things that look a little bit different. For one, there's this little symbol notch thing over here. That's telling you how many replies there are. So there are a total of 18 replies, but 4 of them have been unread. So that can give you an idea of how many things you need to look for. And to find them, it's real easy. There are 2 different ways to do it. One, if you want to scroll through everything, you can see anyone with a blue dot. I went through and manually clicked those. Anyone with a blue dot is going to be considered unread. Anybody with a white one is considered read. If you want to flip one to the other, all you have to do is just click the dot and it'll mark them as read, unread, however it is. If they're all kind of spread out, you don't want to search for all of them. You've got a couple filters that you can do here. So if you click the unread option, that's only going to show you the ones that are unread. One of the problems with this, though, is that you may not necessarily get the parent thing. So it says view and discussion. So like I could click that, and it's going to pop up and show, okay, this is what the whole discussion looked like for that particular one. So again, by clicking unread, you can just see what all the unread ones. And if you need to find it in the discussion, you click view and discussion. And it'll pop up, it double checks to tell you, hey, it's that one. That's the one you're looking at. There's the context of the whole thing. This one here will let you view deleted replies. So if somebody deleted something, you can go back and check those out. And then these 2 buttons are helpful if you're trying to scroll through to find something. You can collapse replies, so you click that, and it makes everything all nice and simplified. Or you can expand it, and it's going to show all the details of all the replies for everybody else. So whichever one. You can also search the entries or by author, so you can search for the name of people who put something into this discussion board. You can search for particular words, phrases, whatever that somebody has put in there. Anything like that, kind of like Control F, except you don't have to Control F it. And it's only going to search through here. It's not going to try to find other things on the page. So that's the basics of just kind of looking over stuff. Some of the more powerful tools are going to be in these 3 dots up here on the top right. So you got a few things. One, mark all as read. So if you've gone through everything, you don't feel like checking all those boxes, you just hit that and it's going to mark all of them as read. Notice it does take a little bit of time for this to refresh. I think you have to actually refresh the page in order for that to update. So it's still showing the 4, even though now as I scroll through, you can clearly see that none of them are unread. Delete will completely get rid of the discussion. Probably don't want to do that. Speed grader, that's where you're going to go for grading it. We'll go there in a second. Add rubric. This is a very, very nifty thing, especially for when you're grading. So we'll leave the title as some rubric, because why not change it? And so this is the rubric that whenever you open up that speed grader, which is the grading system that Canvas uses, this will pop up beside everybody's assignment, discussion, whatever it is, however it is you want to view it or say it. It's going to pop up beside there and make it really, really easy to grade these things based on a rubric. So when you create it, you'll give it a title. I'm going to leave it alone. Then it's going to come up with criteria. So we're going to hit edit. And then it says for a description of criterion. So let's say they did the first thing. You could give it a long description too. So maybe, I don't know, the things that were listed as part of the first thing. Something that will give you or your students, if they're looking at the rubric, a little more detail as to what the description should be. If this is a multi-point thing, you could maybe say there's 1 point for doing this part, 2 points for doing this, something to kind of keep all of that updated. So hit update criterion. You have the ability to change how many points this is worth. Let's make this worth 3 points. So we click outside. Notice it changed the ratings from 5 to 3, so it keeps up with that. If you want to, you can click this little plus button and it'll give you other rating scores within there to put. So maybe I'm going to make a rating score of 2. I'll leave that alone. We'll call this rating title. We'll say missed one of the things. You do have to give each of these things a title so that you know what it is. So whenever we go to pop into SpeedGrader here in a second, I'm going to have the option to very quickly just click between 3, 2, and 0 points to figure out to do all the grading stuff. If you don't have something in here, so like 1 point isn't in here, or if you do or decimal points, you can always go back whenever you're doing the SpeedGrader and manually punch in however many points you want it to be. This is just for the purposes of going through and grading something speedily. So your most common point values are what you want to put in. But this is only one criterion. Most rubrics are going to involve more than one. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the purpose of a rubric. So I'll add another. Maybe open up. Oh, yeah. So let's move this. So when we hit that, we've got a couple different options. One is I can add a brand new criterion where it's going to be exactly the same as before, or you can duplicate one of them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it just to make it easier because you've already seen what doing a new one is. So I'm going to change this to they did the second thing. And we'll change that as well, saving yourself some time. And so now it's they did the second thing. They've still got the same point values. Let's say this one was actually worth 5 points though. So we'll update that. And when you do that, it's going to take the ones that were in the middle and try to bring them, like scale them up or down based on those points. So all of a sudden you don't have a really high value or a really, really low one or anything like that. If you want, you can go back and change it. Let's make it worth 2 points again. Update the rating. And now those are my options. And so you could keep adding things in there. Then you've got a few different options to check down here. And some of these you want to check before you start adding these in. One, I'll write freeform comments when assessing students. When you do this, that's going to get rid of everything in the ratings category. Move this out of the way over here. So when I click that, all of the stuff in the ratings went away. The point totals are still there because when you open up SpeedGrader, you can just click in there and type in this section, missed a point for this, got all the points for that. It's a little more customizable per student. Take a little more time, so it just depends on what you're looking for. If you did check that and you didn't want to, it still saves everything. It just makes it so that you can't do the things when you're in there. Remove points from rubric. I feel that's kind of silly to do if you're making a rubric. Why wouldn't you have points? But you can take points away from that. Don't post outcomes. That's only if you have outcomes set up in Canvas, and that's only if you really want to. I wouldn't mess with that. Use this rubric for assignment grading. I can't tell you how many times I have forgotten to check this box. So if you don't have this checked when you're going through in SpeedGrader, and I'm actually going to leave it unchecked so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. When you go through, it'll tell you how many total points that they got when they did the thing. But it won't automatically tie those points to the assignment. If you check this button, once you hit done, when you're done going through the rubric, it'll automatically update the point value for them. And then hide score total for assessment results. If you don't want students to see the score, you check that. So I'm going to create that rubric. And now it's made. If I want to go back and edit it, you just come up here, hit the edit rubric button, and it's going to open up the exact same screen that we were at before. The next thing, move my face again. The next thing is going to be closed for comments. This is good for if you want to shut down the discussion so that you don't have any more people adding stuff, but you want them to still be able to access it. So whenever you were setting up the settings for if this was graded and due and all that stuff, there was a like available until date. That will completely lock them out of the discussion. Closing it for comments, though, will still allow them to go into the discussion, but they just won't be able to make comments. So this way, they're still going to be able to view things. So it's kind of a happy medium between just leaving it open forever and then shutting it off forever as well. And then send to, copy to, those are the same. You can send the discussion to another person if you collaborate with people. Copy to, you can copy it to another class. Maybe you're doing your work in your sandbox, then you can copy it straight over into the class that you intended, or you can copy it to other hours, whatever it is. And then share to comments, that'll be a later video. So we're going to go ahead and open SpeedGrader, because this is where all of the grading is going to happen. And so SpeedGrader, if you're not aware, this is Canvas's general grading platform and how you grade most things within Canvas. Off to the right here is where all of our work is going to be done. So we're going to hit the View Rubric button since we went through the problem of making a rubric. And it's going to open up that rubric. Now it does cram everything over here, so I like to grab the bar, slide it over a bit. And so now I can scroll through and see what we did. Also on the left, it's going to show all of the comment submissions that they put, but it's not going to show how it appeared within the discussion. If you want to do that, you'll have to click the View the Full Discussion button. And then you'll want to use your search tool to do that. And then you can type in the name, and it's going to start popping up all the same things to kind of help you find that. But anyway, so you could go through and you could say, okay, well, missed one of the things, but got full marks here. So 7 out of 8 points, hit save, and it shows that their total points were 7. Because on that previous screen, I didn't check that box where it says use for assignment grading, it left the box blank for how many points they earned. So going back to the main screen, to fix that problem, because this will probably happen to you doing an assignment with rubrics where you'll forget to hit that button. So we just go back to Show Rubric, hit the Edit button, and then we're going to click Use this rubric for assignment grading. Now the point value on the assignment is still 5 points, but the rubric is a total of 8. So it's going to get unhappy when I hit this button and warn me that the point values are different. Things aren't going to work well. So it gives you the option to either leave it different because maybe you wanted to build an extra credit, or maybe this was only part of the assignment. So this is worth, the rubric has less points on it than the actual whole assignment, whatever it is. You can choose to leave it different, or if you hit the change button, it'll use the rubric as how many points it should be. So when I hit change, it changed the discussion from being worth 5 points to now it's being worth 8. And then if we go into SpeedGrader, you hit the save when you're doing the rubric, it'll automatically update that grade.